Welcome everyone to the first edition of Hot Hoops of this semester. I'm your host, John Franklin, joined alongside women's basketball beat reporter Josh Silverman. Josh, how you doing tonight?
You know what? I'm happy to be here. I'm happy for the season to finally start on Friday. Let's get it started.
Now, Josh, it's been a while since the last basketball season. Why don't you take us through a season recap?
So last season, the women's team, they had a lot of moving parts. Notably, Erin McClure and Paula Startman, the freshmen, they joined the team. The team went through a little bit of a transition period. They lost their first 3 games in conference. Then they won 17 straight. They won the first 2 games of the MAC tournament, but then Marina Politano got injured in the semifinals. They weren't able to recover on such short notice. They lost to Iona in the finals. They played in the WNIT. They won the first game, lost the second, and I think they're going to be out and hungry for a title this year.
Yeah, Josh, that was an historic win against Maine here in Hamden. Was their first postseason win in the team's history. And now we're going to look at the coaches poll for this season. Quinnipiac ranks up right at the top. Why don't you take us through what you think about this season's poll?
So they were ranked number 1. They had the most votes, most first place votes as well. I think I agree with it. First of all, I think that they're going to finish 1. Iona was number 2. I agree with that. They have senior Marina Lizarazu, who was the unanimous MAC Player of the Year. She's a phenomenal player. I think she will also end the year as Player of the Year, although I think Quinnipiac has numerous players that can challenge her for that title. And then Marist, I was surprised to see at number 5. Although they lost Tori Giroux, a fundamental part of that team. She was a 6th-year player. But, I don't really see anyone challenging Quinnipiac for the title this year.
Yeah, Quinnipiac brings back a bunch of returning players, freshmen going into sophomore, good recruitment class. There have been a bunch of gains and losses this year for many teams around the MAC, You actually looked at it a little more in depth about it. Why don't you let us know some of those facts?
Iona, I thought was so interesting that Iona, Joy Adams, a fundamental part of that team. She, led the team in rebounds. She had 6 more rebounds than the other 4 starters combined. So losing her will be a huge blow to Iona. It will help Quinnipiac, Erin McClure and Paula Charbonnet will be able to dominate when they play twice. I probably think 3 times they'll meet, I think, in the MAC finals again, barring any sort of injury. So that's huge. Quinnipiac only lost 1 starter, Marina Politano. I think they'll be able to recover. They have the parts to do. I think Ali Martucci has to step into that role. And then another year for Paula Charbonnet, Carly Fabry, Erin McClure, Jen Fay coming back from injury. She was the 2014 preseason Rookie of the Year. She didn't play last year. She was injured for the full year, but I just think they have so many parts. Morgan Mans will be a senior. They just, how do you stop them?
Well, Josh, Quinnipiac will play at the end of this week against Florida Gulf Coast University. Why don't you give us a prediction for that one?
Well, I always like to say that's the turning point of the season with almost 2 minutes left in the 3rd quarter of the game last year. When these 2 teams met, Ali Martucci hit a 3-pointer when Quinnipiac was down 12. That sparked a comeback. That game ended up going into overtime. They lost by 1 in overtime against a good Florida Gulf Coast team. Quinnipiac, after that game, did not lose in conference again until the MAC tournament. This year, Florida Gulf Coast has lost players. Again, we've talked about it, but Quinnipiac has gained players, and players have more experience. That's where I have Quinnipiac winning by 12 points against Florida Gulf Coast Friday at 2 o'clock here at TD Bank Center.
Wow, Josh, bold prediction there, but we're going to transition things. I got a chance to sit down with Adelie Martucci. You brought her up. Let's see what she had to say going into her graduate year. Grad student Adelie Martucci enters her final year wearing a Bobcats uniform, but she says this one could be the most important in her entire career. As Adelie Martucci reflects on the final year of her career, she can only help but look back at the players that have gotten her through such unprecedented success.
I was lucky enough to come in with such a successful group of young ladies, and they really showed me the way and how to be successful. I mean, I didn't know what it took to be a great teammate, but throughout this whole ride, these ladies have taught me how to be a successful teammate.
Martucci has done so much in a Bobcat uniform over the course of her career, leaving her with many moments she'll never forget.
There's so many great moments and experiences that we've had. I'm sure Las Vegas is going to be another great experience this season. So, I mean, there's so many. Winning the NEC tournament and the MAC tournament, that's amazing. There's so many amazing moments. I can't just pick one, and it makes it even more amazing because of the group that I'm with.
Head coach Trisha Fabry recognizes how important Martucci has been to the program's success over 4 years.
I think you just look at the picture when she was redshirted as a freshman and we won the NEC championship. I think there's something to be said for a young lady who chooses to practice every day and knows that she's not going to play. I think there's a mental challenge in that in and of itself, so it showed a real maturity back then. But even physically looking at the picture, I have it in my office, and I know we were going to sit down and do this piece, and you see a young lady that has like the glasses on and her hair is slightly different and the braces, to where she walks in the office right now and she just owns it.
Well, we're coming right back.
It's 9:30 Eastern, and you know what that means. Sports Pause is on the air.
Ball played up the middle. Iman Whalen with a little cheat off the play.
Preseason just boils down to going after another national championship and not necessarily focusing on the one before.
MJ, it is time for our favorite part of the show. It's the top 5 plays of the week, brought to you by B&D Deli, home of the Q-Dog.
Let's talk about the first play you want to break down.
Yeah, let's break it down right away.
But the one name I'm going to throw out there is a freshman, Mika Maples.
Welcome back to Hot Hoops. We switched out women's basketball beat reporter Josh Silverman. We brought in men's basketball beat reporter Dylan Fearon. Dylan, how are you doing tonight?
It's been a long time since March and April. I'm ready to go. Season's right around the corner. Let's do it.
Well, you know what? Let's hop right into it. Why don't you give us your recap of last season for the men's basketball team?
It was not as smooth as the women's team, as Josh very well. Did a great job articulating. But for the men's side, I mean, they were 9-21. Did not look good. They lost a lot of key pieces from 2 years ago. Giovanni McLean really took the load, along with guys like Daniel Harris, Shays Daniels, and Donovan Smith. But they just could not get open shots and get open shots of the offense. 9-21 in the season, finished 9th in the MAC. Did not win a game in the MAC tournament. Fell to Ryder in the first round in Albany. Things just did not look good all season long for Tom Moore's squad. Not a usual Tom Moore team. 20-plus losses the first time in his career. So it did not look very good. It wasn't as smooth as the women's team. And they're looking to bounce back, but they lose 6 guys from last year, and they bring in 6 guys. So it's really a toss-up to see how they're going to do.
Well, you know, the coaches' polls have them ranked as 10th at the start of this year. Do you think that's a fair ranking?
Fair. I think it might even be a tad bit generous. You're talking about a 9-21 team that lost 6 guys, and you haven't even seen this team play yet. I mean, you could have made the case that they could have been 11th out of 11 instead of 10th out of 11. Yes, Niagara is a weak team in the MAC, but you really could make the case that Quinnipiac could have been 11th this season going in without seeing them play. Do I personally think they're going to be the last team in the MAC this season? No, I do not. But I think without seeing them play, you could have made the case that they could have been last. The MAC's very deep this year. Monmouth brings everyone back. Iona's always strong. You can't ever count Manhattan out. And Siena is a real team that you could see make the NCAA tournament this year with the automatic bid.
Well, Dylan, you said it yourself. You've emphasized it. Quinnipiac loses 6 guys, but obviously other teams around the league are going to lose some key players. Why don't you take us through some gains and losses around the league?
Well, if you look at Quinnipiac first, they lost Giovanni McLean, Aaron Hutton, and Dimitri Flores. That's 3 point guards and 3 guys in your backcourt, game managers, facilitators that you just lost. And the MAC is huge for guards this year. You talk about Monmouth's got Justin Robinson, Siena's got Marquise Wright, Iona's got Cedric Casimir. So you're trying to beat these top teams, and you've lost your entire backcourt from a year ago. They bring in Mikey Dixon, they bring in Reggie Oliver, and they bring in Phil Winston to man that backcourt, but none of those guys have had experience at the Division I level, so who knows who's going to be the starter, who knows who's going to be that go-to guy in the point guard position to get guys open shots and make baskets.
Well, Dylan, they take on Vermont later this week. Why don't you give us a little prediction?
You know, I cannot say that Quinnipiac wins this game on Saturday. Yes, they're at home, but they have an entirely different team. They're going to be running different styles of offense that they haven't run before. Phil Winston's probably going to be manning the number 1 position at the point guard position on Saturday, but who knows what he can bring to the table since he has no Division I experience. Vermont brings back some really good guys like Trey Bell-Haynes and Cam Morton in that backcourt, so they might have their way all game long against Quinnipiac for 40 minutes. I can't see Quinnipiac winning against Vermont. I just can't do it. And they got Columbia. That's going to be a tough one. And they go to Florida, to face some top teams like Gonzaga or Seton Hall or Florida. So it's going to be a very tough start to the season for Quinnipiac.
Thanks, Dylan. Now, we had a chance to catch up with Mikey Dixon.
Hey guys, thank you. I'm here with freshman Mikey Dixon. Mikey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So there's been a lot of speculation about who Coach Moore is going to pick as his starting point guard. Last year it was Gio McLean. This year it's between you, Reggie, and Phil. Do you think you're ready to fill in those shoes?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. But either way it go, we're not really focused on that. We're all just in here every day, trying to get better. So when November 12th rolls around, we'll just be ready to go.
Great. So you had a fantastic experience in high school. You're averaging about 25 points per game last season. What was the transition like from high school to Division I?
Much faster, guys. Obviously, guys are much stronger, faster. You gotta play the game a little bit smarter. Like we come off cuts and stuff. Dudes are quicker. Dudes understand the game better. So it's just little things like that.
So what do you think your expectations are for the season? You play Vermont on Saturday. Are you excited?
Yeah. First Division I game. I've been waiting a long time for this. So I can't wait. For us, obviously we want to win and just come out and try to take care of business and set the tone for a good season.
So you've been around the team for quite some time now, getting to know the players. Who do you think is the most influential person on the team for you?
I would say senior guard Daniel Harris. He's been here last year, but this year he just stepped it up a whole bunch. I mean, on the court, off the court, we always hear his voice. And I think a lot of guys lock in and listen to him the most.
Great. Anything else you want to add?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Well, Dylan, that's about all the time we have here on Hot Hoops tonight.
We found our new president. Now it's time to find a new basketball champion. Can't wait.
You're absolutely right, man. It's great to get back on the desk and you talk a little hoop.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, well, like I said, that's all we have for Hot Hoops tonight. Why don't you follow us on Twitter at @hot_hoops and visit our website at www.q30television.com, as well as follow all of our esteemed beat reporting colleagues, Josh Silverman, Maury Hirsch-Gordon, Brian Schwartz, Chris Dacey, Dylan Fearon, and myself, as well as Tom Cunningham.
Those guys bring it every single night. Got to give them credit.
Bring it every single night. That's all the time we have on Hot Hoops. That's all she wrote.